Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Wednesday. It's March 16th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and I wanted to show you the daily chart real quick. You can see we continued on, rallied out of here today. What looked like was going to be negative news off the FOMC that started the market lower actually sent it racing higher, and looks like we're going to close on our highs. We haven't quite tested that high yet, so we could turn down there again. But you can see that triple test was worth taking note of, and it's also a first. Actually, it's not a second entry. The second entry was right there. There's a first entry, and then second entry. That would have been a third entry, but it's a triple test and a big bullish bar. So you would expect that if we get a break above it, we're probably going to run higher. And again, what looked like started out was going to be a really nice day, looked like it was going to end bearish, but there was, even with a quarter point rate hike, there was a little more than a hiccup in the market. So um, really nice rally, 2 days in a row of really nice upward movement. So will we get some traction this time? It's hard to say, but let's see what happens, and we'll see if this holds as resistance here or not, and maybe we'll push through it and it'll act as support, and we can turn this market around for a while. It sure would be nice for our longer term investments. So we'll see what happens, but yep, the price action held true for today, and we did get that follow through that we were hoping for. So let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart, and we'll run through the trades. I'm going to go through them quickly. Not a lot of trades today. Of course, we lose about an hour or so of the trading anyway, but because of the FOMC announcement. Let's go over there and take a look. Okay, here's a look at that chart. We had this spike and channel up early, and we got a break here, but never got a new high. We actually ran out and tested the lows again, and then ended up rallying and going much higher. This is a really strong trend right here, and it looks like this is probably much, much higher here. And you can see that does, I can't tell if we're touching there or not, but looks a little close. It could be an overshoot. That's what I think we had here. I think early on I might have had this further up here. Um, and it does fit there. But if you look right here, it fits, and the midline tends to fit better. And that would explain the overshoot would lead to the reversal. And while we may not have got a retest there, we still get the retest in the end. But I don't think this move had anything to do with a retest, to be honest. So I think we probably had an overshoot there. But let's, in the big, I don't know what you'd call this day. Um, I mean, it's really almost a range day with a that went a little higher in the end. I mean, we were up, down, back up, and we just kept going higher. I mean, evidently the market likes something from the news today, but I just think we've been so oversold. It was time for something new to happen. But let's get in here and talk about the trade. So when 7 o'clock comes just as we're topping out here, and prices turn down. You don't really get a chance to trade this. Runs down. We kind of work a little, kind of, you can see you can draw your trend line off those couple of swings there. And we're really struggling to go higher, but prices can't go lower either. So the way I looked at this is you got a triple test right here. It's not a great signal bar, but you really get a new low right here. So it's a first entry, second entry. So it's a failed second entry short. And so with the triple test and a failed second entry short, if that breaks higher, you're going to get a scalp out of it. We're probably going to go much higher. I marked it, it's green. I marked it green. I almost didn't mark it because you do have the EMA there, a little bit of resistance there too. But clearly you can see we're making higher lows there all the way across there. And then when you get that triple test, we try to turn down once, twice, three times. and you get a failed second entry short. If it breaks higher, it's probably going to have some people trapped, and you can see how it rocketed up real quick before it pulls back and then goes higher. And so I'll mark that green. It's a little aggressive, and if you don't catch that one, you don't get a chance to ride this. You run up, you get a break, new high, and then we're kind of working down here. And notice again, you get a first entry, you shoot below the EMA, pull back, you get a second entry long, it fails and goes lower right there. That's a first entry, but it's a failed second entry long, and it does confirm that trend line. But we come back a few minutes later, and you get a notice this is basically a double bottom, so you get a first entry, second entry, then you got a second entry short as well with another nice signal bar right at the key entry point. And you can see the traders like that when it drops on down. If this would have broke higher, this is like a 4-tick bar. If that would have broke higher and then turned down and closed with 4 ticks and went lower, I might say, hey, that'd be worth taking a chance on. I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw a 4-tick bar during regular trading hours. It's been a while. But anyway, you bounce off the key entry point down here. You got to be careful with these. You do get what I believe is an overshoot here as well, and it takes off. But you do get the double test of the trend line right here. So, and you could call that, notice you're working down, that's a first entry and then a second entry. It is a second entry long, and you're so far away from the EMA. I marked it green, but it's probably worth risking. Again, it's a relatively, I mean, it's 8 ticks. And we're back in the 8-tick rule again here. When's the last time we were able to say that? That's 2 trades that, possibly you take and you're within the 8-tick rule again. So things look fairly reasonable today considering. So but anyway, we bounce off that trend, and again, it just takes off, and you don't really get a chance to enter this if you don't enter there. So we run up, and I think we get an overshoot. It's hard to know. You can kind of see where we came back inside and gave it a couple of tests, but you're so sideways there, I just don't think you can enter. And then you break out, and you get the measured move for the most part, and then you fell out the top. You might have considered this one, but it's so close to the support, and the EMA's there too. I'm not crazy about it. Too bad we didn't break higher there, and then you could have treated this as a failure and gone short there. But and you actually could say, hey, you got a first entry, second entry here, but you're not back to the EMA, and it didn't even come back and test the midline. So it's hard to really consider that, although there are 2 legs down there. It's hard to consider that a failure, but you would think we were probably coming to the other side. So it's another one. You could argue for it to possibly be green. I think you're better off to wait on something better than that. And of course, you make this little double bottom, then you get a first entry, second entry, but you got this little trend working higher, and you get a break and a new high as well. So you got a break and a new high, big bearish ball on a second entry, and we're not back down to the trend line yet. So you would expect prices to keep trying to go lower. And then we make a triple test. Notice you made the low, you test it once, you test it twice. You'd have to move this up some, but nothing wrong with that. I think I moved it down a little later. I mean, really, that's probably where you want it right there, based on that low. And you get the triple test, huge bar. Of course, that's an easy no-brainer one there. This one was tempting to come back short. It's such a big bearish bar, but and notice you do get a leg up, and then you get a 2-legged correction, and then another leg. So it is like a measured leg up. So on a bigger picture, that would probably be a second entry, but I think that's just pushing it too much right there. We're too close to the trend line here that you couldn't say, hey, that's good enough. That's good enough. We do come back and test it, but you can see we're just kind of going sideways here, and it was hard to know that at the time. And we were really looking for prices to go higher from here. So because you're looking at the big picture blue trend channel, and of course you do have this overshoot, but it was hard to know if that was an overshoot. Looking at it after the fact, I'm pretty sure it was. It fits better that way, but it's hard to know that for certain. So you're taking a chance there. And of course, we're just working back and forth. And notice how we kind of get stuck in the middle here. That's because of the trend line. So you got to be real careful here entering anything. You need a really good setup. Finally making you low. You get a first entry, you push through, you get a second entry, and you get, so when it breaks above this bar, this is actually your signal bar, but when it breaks above there, that's a second entry long. You may wait on this bar, and probably what I would do is let it break higher and drop a limit order a little further back. Just to give, I mean, there's still plenty of room to those highs, so I don't think there's any issue there. And you can see we went much higher. But I like that trading it as a reversal because we're still possibly looking for the new high. Just because you get an overshoot doesn't mean you won't still get an attempt at one. Then, of course, we start trending down, but I don't see anything in here that I really like. You get a reversal. You get a failed second entry long, but you're above the EMA, and you can't really go short there. And then you get a second entry here, but that bar's, it never really breaks higher. And so now you got a new low, and that's just a first entry. This is a relatively bearish bar, but we just came off the lows. So if this trend line here doesn't hold, you're expecting prices to go higher. It does end up holding, but you didn't know that at the time. And so you run down, you get a break, new low, and then you correct here. And actually starting right here at 12 o'clock, you want to be flat. And so that's the 12 o'clock. And usually you want to wait at least 10 minutes, 15 minutes. I mean, really, we just had a real minor hiccup there. I mean, that's a pretty big move. It doesn't look like it with all the volatility, but I think you were probably safe to trade by the time prices start back here. You can see the bars are kind of getting back to normal again. And so there's a second entry short here right at the key entry point. Relatively nice bearish bar. I think you're safe to take that now. And you can see that's a nice move, drops on down. We just kind of work sideways. There's a triple test, but you can't go long in this downtrend. I mean, you got the bigger blue cayenne color, the yellow. You can't go long right there. Of course, you do get the break, and that is a second entry short, and you're expecting a new low here, but we might try to make a new high here. So you got to be real careful with that one. You get a lower high here, not a good setup, and you just don't really get anything until finally you come all the way down here and you get this triple test. I think I moved my line by accident when I adjusted it a minute ago. Yep, you can see that's right off the midline. That's perfect. Everything fits perfectly there. And so you make this triple test. Technically, the triple test was right here, and this was like a, notice you got tested at once. Let me zoom in here. I'm sorry. Notice you tested it once, twice, 3 times. So you really could have gone long right there. But when it tested again, it makes a higher low right there, that far away from the EMA. Now you got 3 bullish tests of it. I think you can go long there. And you could actually go long on either one of those. I would say this one is more risky than this one because now you've got here you could say you got a new low and that's a higher low. There's still test. There's not much space in there, but this gives it a little more space. So they're either one about the same. I mean, if you didn't take this one, if you saw it again, you could take it. Of course, if you don't take this one, then you're probably a little more leery of taking this one because it looks like a range now. But we know that it's really more support than it is a range because we made a high there and then we made a higher high right there. Of course, this one didn't make a higher high, but it looks more like an inside bar. But anyway, they're both aggressive, but you may take them. And you might have even looked at this as a reversal. I just felt it was too early really to look for a reversal. And we do have the break here and the new low, but that's just a long move for such a short move up here. And so you just have to be a little concerned about trying to get long too early. If you took that one, you know, it's probably okay. But I didn't mark it, so it's another one you could argue to be green. So it is a failure. It's just kind of a big bar and 28 ticks. But we run on up. We do go through. We do get the reversal. This green channel holds. I don't see any trades up through here. We keep working high, but you just don't really get any setups. Even here, you work back down, you get a break and a new low. This one would be tempting, but I'd wait on a higher low here, and you don't get it. Then you get you do get a failure here, but you're still below the EMA. I'd want to see something better than that. And so technically you got a new low. This is a triple bottom or double bottom, however you want to look at it. And then you get your first entry, second entry. And now you're above the EMA, and you can see we're suddenly making higher highs and higher lows. So that would give you a reason to be able to take that trade. And it looks like that's what the smart traders were waiting on. You got a little more attention to this move here going long, but then this one pretty much sealed it. There we go. So technically you could argue that this was a double bottom and that was a failure. This it's almost like a repeat pattern. Where was it? It's almost very similar to this. So you could, again, and I think I made both. Again, you could argue for either one of those. And if you go back, if you remember the repeat pattern, I think we only marked one of them because these were below the EMA, but it's still it's still pretty much a repeat pattern, and it plays out the same. And that took us on up into 230. And the last couple of days, I guess since the rollover this whole week, I've had my chart in and at 2 o'clock, not realizing it. And I think I have that fixed. I thought I fixed it last time, but last time we had rollover, I did the same thing for the first couple of days. This should turn gray at 2:30, should be our cutoff time. And it was actually turning off at 2 o'clock, and I didn't catch it because I wasn't really trading that late in the day. And during the chart lesson, I just didn't catch it for whatever reason. So, but I fixed it. So we're good on this contract, and hopefully I got my default set properly this time so that it loads properly next time. And hopefully I can remember to double check it regardless next time. So that's the way I saw the day. Pretty nice day. I mean, you could almost say 2 legs up, but we got a lot more than a measured leg here as well. I mean, if you measure these legs, boom, 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 you can see we went much higher than that. So, but it's 2 legs up for sure. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. If we can get some more follow through, it would be nice. Or if we're going to find out that we're right into resistance and on the daily chart and can't really make anything more than that happen. So, but I'm really pleased. I really thought the quarter rate hike was going to kill the market, but generally this stuff is already baked into the market before the news breaks. And so I don't think, you know, when you hear, by the time we get the news, it usually doesn't do anything but create a little ruckus short term, and then the market, even though the market sold off here relatively strongly, it recovered real quickly, kind of reset, and then went higher from there. And that's the way the market will do. It'll usually do a reset after the news. It'll erase those emotional moves and go back, and then it'll figure out what it's going to do from there. What it probably would have done before was work higher. And so you'll see that over and over. Generally, that news stuff, if it drives it real hard in one direction or another, it won't last long. Before the day is over, it'll usually erase it, and it'll kind of reset. And you can see we moved right back to kind of that same spot we were at around 1 o'clock and kind of reset, and then we went higher from there. And you'll see that just about, that's pretty common. You'll see that on most emotional news moves. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. We'll be back again do it again tomorrow and wrap up our week tomorrow. But I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.